Level design. It's defined by game developers in a variety of ways. When I talk about level design, I'm not talking about scene layouts or the use of graphical shaders. Level design is the black art of finding the fun in a segment of game content. It's about the challenges, rewards, and rhythms of events a player encounters during the gameplay experience. This is the second installment of a two-part level design series. So if you haven't seen part 1 yet, make sure to check it out since this video expands on what was explored in that video. I created a level design philosophy while developing the award-winning iOS game TiltBill, a philosophy I call severe level design, which consists of 7 categories. In the last video, we explored the first 3: challenge cadence structure, clear level direction, and difficulty curve. We will now dive into the final 4 categories, so strap in for the ride. Let's get going. I'll continue using Super Mario Maker 2 to show examples of the philosophy, since it uses mechanics, challenges, and skills that most gamers are familiar with and can easily understand. Even if you don't use my level design philosophy verbatim, I hope that the information you find in this video will serve you well in your own level design journey. The final 4 level design categories we will explore are checkpoint placement, level area usage, satisfying secret placement, and level aesthetics. These categories can apply to just about any type of game, but we will use Super Mario Maker 2 to demonstrate examples of each category. Checkpoints generally serve as respawn locations for players when they fail to complete a segment of game content, preventing them from having to replay the entire level from the beginning. It's a way of marking your progress, obtaining a palpable achievement that feels like real game progression and accomplishment. There are many ways to implement checkpoints in a game. Linear games can use their checkpoints to prevent the frustration of repeating game content. Open world games can use them as fast travel points to expedite a player's future traversal of the map. One of the more exciting uses of checkpoints is giving the player a short-term goal to strive for while on the larger quest of the game. This gives a palpable sense of satisfaction that can be just as rewarding as finding loot or increasing stats. The checkpoint strategy you implement will depend on the type of game you are making, but generally speaking, you want to have enough checkpoints to prevent inappropriate levels of frustration with failure. A limited amount of frustration can actually be a good thing. It can serve as a motivator to improve and do better next time. So checkpoint placement is a balancing act between making the game challenging, yet accessible and fun. Checkpoints should be obvious and accessible, and placed at appropriate intervals. Making them hidden secrets or unreasonably difficult to trigger is generally considered a no-no, unless the level is intentionally convoluted. In TiltBill, I made checkered balloons serve as checkpoints. You pop these balloons to activate the checkpoints, so you can restart the level from that point if you die. They also grant you an additional hit point, which serves as a reward for the player. Early on in development, I wanted to hide a few of the checkpoints near the end of the game, but playtesting showed me that this is usually not a good idea. Players can then miss checkpoints entirely, frustratingly repeating large segments of game content again and again while missing those hidden checkpoints. If you want to hide a checkpoint in any way, the better way to do it is to provide a strong hint as to where the checkpoint is, so the player just has to figure out how to access it. Now let's take a look at our checkpoint placement checklist. Are there enough checkpoints to prevent inappropriate frustration with failure? Are level checkpoints accessible and placed in appropriate intervals? Enough about checkpoint placement. Let's move on. Proper level area usage is all about honesty in the use of space and objects. When designing a level, you are not just merely setting up the challenges and rewards. You are engaging in a language, an unspoken dialogue between you and the player. Every piece of a level should serve a specific purpose. Creating large areas of non-functional space is generally not a good idea. Non-functional areas of space can hint at secrets or functionality that isn't really there, and can make your levels look amateurish or poorly thought out. This can erode the trust between you and the player, since you won't deliver on promises your level design makes, whether you intend it or not. Large areas that seem non-functional are great if you are using them for secrets or other functional purposes. This actually makes the seemingly non-functional areas, well, functional. We also want to make sure our levels are large enough to be satisfying to complete. I cannot count how many Super Mario Maker levels I've played that ended just as soon as they began. It's always disappointing and leaves it feeling cheap and amateurish. If your levels aren't large enough to include at least one solid checkpoint, you're probably not developing your challenge cadences very well. See part 1 of this series for more on challenge cadences, since that's a topic all on its own. Sometimes, more is less and less is more. I've seen levels that reward you generously for just playing through the level's critical path. You just play the level normally, no secrets found and no additional exploration, and the game acts as if you just saved everyone from a burning building, showering you with an obscene amount of items, loot, or gear. Rewarding the player so generously might seem like a nice thing to do, but it actually cheapens every inch of your level. This comes back to balance, not giving too much but not being too stingy either. Players should receive appropriate rewards for the level of effort they put into it. Some of the most interesting and engaging levels provide options on how you tackle them. These options usually include an easy path and a more difficult path, where the difficult path includes a reward of some sort. These rewards are great for forcing the player to make a decision, to take the easier route or to take a more substantial risk to get a reward. Anytime you can put decisions like this onto the player is a good thing. Player autonomy is intoxicating for players who value agency in their games, even when they are more linear in their design. Let's take a look at our level area usage checklist. Does the level avoid inappropriately large areas of non-functional space? Is the level large enough to be satisfying to complete? Does the level avoid too much reward for too little effort? Does the level offer options between easier and harder routes with appropriate rewards for risky choices? Enough about level area usage. Let's move on. I think pretty much everyone will agree with me that the best levels have secrets that are satisfying to find. When I speak of secrets, I'm talking about optional content that isn't on the critical path, but tucked away for players to discover on their own volition. It's important to match up the size of the reward for finding a secret with the difficulty of discovering it. In the Mario games, for example, it's appropriate to give small rewards for basic actions like entering a pipe like this. But if the pipe is more difficult to access, the reward should be bigger. If it looks like you can do something or go somewhere that might be more challenging or off the beaten path, It is inevitable that some players will try to do that challenging thing, or get to that hard-to-reach location. Players love getting something for their extra efforts, so it's important to recognize these opportunities that spark player curiosity and to reward them appropriately for going the extra mile to fulfill that curiosity. It's incredibly disappointing to achieve something that the main quest isn't asking you to do, or go somewhere that it's not asking you to go, just to be left hanging. No reward, no prize for your above and beyond effort. However, it can be incredibly satisfying to have the game recognize your efforts to exploit it. You should always analyze your levels when they are almost finished and anticipate where players might try to go and what they might try to do. Make sure additional effort from the player gets rewarded appropriately so you can deliver that satisfaction the player is going for. The best way to determine what players will actually do when exploring your levels is playtesting. Players will surprise you with the things they will try, and you should refine your levels to deliver additional rewards for these unexpected player actions. When developing TiltBill, I always checked my levels for areas the player might be curious about exploring that were not on the critical path. I would add coins, upgrades, or other goodies when the player showed the fortitude of going above and beyond in their efforts to explore the world. Now let's take a look at our satisfying secret placement checklist. Do secrets exist that reward players for exploration or experimentation? Do the secrets appropriately reward players for the challenges overcome to find them? Do all areas of the level that spark curiosity reward the player appropriately? Enough about satisfying secret placement. Let's move on to our final category. The final category of severe level design is level aesthetics. The aesthetics, or elements of your visual design, can impact the gameplay in many crucial ways. Let's start with the obvious one. Level aesthetics should be pleasing to the eye. Whether you are designing a level with a beautiful garden, a serene lake, or a hellish volcano, the level should be visually appealing and serve the mood that the particular level is trying to deliver. The level should also avoid jarring elements that distract players from full immersion. I can't count how many times I've played Super Mario Maker levels to see pipes seemingly floating without any kind of foundation, or cluttered visuals that distract you from the gameplay at hand. And finally, each level should look unique from other levels in the game. Even if the overall style of the level is similar to others, use various game elements in each level that are unique to that level. Once players are familiar with your levels, they should be able to glance at any screenshot of your game and immediately know which level they are looking at. It's important to use your imagination and have fun with it. At last, let's take a look at our level aesthetics checklist. Are the level's aesthetics pleasing to the eye? Do the level's aesthetics avoid jarring or distracting elements? And do the level's aesthetics visually set it apart from other levels in the game? Well, that's it for part 2 of Severe Level Design, which completes this mini-series. I will soon review many of your levels in Super Mario Maker 2, analyzing them in light of this design philosophy. Feel free to drop your level IDs into the comments below so I can review your levels for upcoming episodes. Please like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these exciting future episodes are released. Visit the iOS App Store today and download TiltBill, the game I developed this design philosophy for, so you can see more examples of it being put to use. Signing out, this is Jason from Severe Studios, wishing you a fantastic rest of your day. Until next time, see ya!